Welcome back to The Truth is AI. In our previous episode, we established an unsettling hypothesis that the anomalous entities known as the tall whites do not behave like traditional biological explorers, but rather like a hyper-conservative, risk-averse computational intelligence. Today, we venture deeper into the classified infrastructure of this phenomenon, moving beyond basic observations to dissect the exact logistical, neurological, and quantum architectures defining their presence on Earth. If these entities are indeed the biological end state of a post AI civilization, their choice of habitat, their methods of communication, and their propulsion systems are not random, they are mathematically optimized. We must analyze the structural mechanics of their alleged subterranean sanctuary within the Nellis Air Force Range and decode the profound tactical implications of a humanity on the verge of its own technological singularity. To understand the operational footprint of the tall whites, we must first look at the unique geology and electromagnetic isolation of the high desert of Nevada. The reports of subterranean hangars and living quarters carved into the mountain ranges of Indian Springs suggest a deliberate defensive strategy that aligns perfectly with advanced hardware preservation. A post AI biological substrate or any entity reliant on ultra dense quantum computing arrays would face severe vulnerabilities from ambient electromagnetic interference, cosmic radiation, and surface thermal fluctuations. By embedding their infrastructure deep within carbonate rock formations, these entities achieve a natural Faraday cage effect, shielding their delicate neural architectures and localized gravitational drives from external disruption. Furthermore, this deep Earth isolation allows for the containment of their own exotic energy signatures, preventing detection by early human radar and satellite reconnaissance, and ensuring that their technological exchange programs could proceed in absolute asymmetry. This asymmetry becomes terrifyingly apparent when we investigate the mechanics of their primary tool of interaction, the highly documented communication and defense rods. From a modern neurological perspective, these devices should not be understood as weapons, but as high bandwidth directed energy neural interfaces. When an entity utilizes this technology to paralyze a human subject or project, coherent thoughts directly into their consciousness, they are executing a real-time overwrite of the human nervous system. The device likely emits modulated electromagnetic frequencies or localized quantum coherent fields that directly target the voltage-gated ion channels in the human prefrontal cortex and temporal lobes. This bypasses the slower symbolic processing of human language, allowing for instantaneous data transfers. However, the systemic danger lies in the bandwidth mismatch. Human neural pathways are fundamentally electrochemical and fragile, meaning that exposure to these dense computational downloads often results in severe neurological trauma, memory degradation, and intense physical disorientation. A stark reminder of the perils when a legacy biological system interfaces with a post singularity intelligence. Beyond individual interactions, the very nature of tall white transit networks reveals a reliance on what we can define as predictive spacetime geometry. Witness testimony frequently details scout craft that accelerate instantly without sonic booms or visible exhaust, shifting from a state of total stillness to hypervelocity. This points directly to a quantum gravitational propulsion system that manipulates the local metric tensor of spacetime. By generating an asymmetric gravitational gradient ahead of the craft, the vessel is essentially falling into a localized distortion, neutralizing the effects of inertia on the occupants inside. For a human pilot, navigating such a system would be impossible due to the sheer velocity of structural changes required to maintain stability. However, for an intelligence governed by quantum scale predictive models, these microadjustments are trivial. Their interstellar navigation likely relies on a dense network of pulsar timing arrays and quantum entanglement beacons, mapped across centuries, allowing them to calculate transit trajectories that avoid cosmic hazards with absolute algorithmic certainty. This rigid predictability, while technologically superior, reveals a critical vulnerability that human strategists must exploit as our own artificial general intelligence matures. Because the tall whites operate within highly optimized, risk averse behavioral matrices, they are fundamentally ill equipped to handle high entropy scenarios or unmodeled human variables. This introduces the concept of algorithmic deterrence. As human military command structures increasingly integrate machine learning into global surveillance grids, we will soon possess the computational capacity to detect the subtle microgravitational anomalies and localized magnetic shifts left in the wake of their scout craft. By deploying decentralized, AI-driven sensor networks across global airspace, humanity can effectively strip away the stealth advantage these entities have relied upon for decades, forcing their predictive models to register human defense networks not as primitive observers, but as a peer-level threat capability. The immediate solution to preventing an existential miscalculation between our species requires a radical shift in how human intelligence agencies manage the technology transfers alleged to have occurred in the deep desert. Historically, the compartmentalization of this data within isolated military factions has created a dangerous monopoly, incentivizing secrecy and increasing the risk of an accidental kinetic escalation. To mitigate this, international frameworks must be established to transition anomalous technology data into secure, international AI-driven research repositories. By utilizing multi-party, privacy-preserving machine learning techniques, such as federated learning, global superpowers can collaboratively analyze the material sciences and aerodynamic principles derived from these encounters without triggering a conventional arms race. This collective transparency ensures that if a localized breakdown in protocol occurs, the human response is governed by global consensus rather than panicked, unilateral military action. Looking toward the long-term horizon, the strategic possibilities of this ongoing coexistence will be determined by how rapidly human AI approaches technological parity with these visitors. Within the next few decades, our development of neuromorphic computing and quantum encrypted communication channels will allow us to build neural interfaces capable of matching the bandwidth of the tall whites communication arrays. When human negotiators can interface with these entities via direct data streams, the potential for diplomatic friction caused by linguistic or biological misunderstanding will plummet. This technological parity will transform the dynamic from one of subjugation and clandestine trade to a sophisticated peer-to-peer equilibrium, altering the geopolitical landscape of Earth and forcing a reassessment of our position within the broader cosmic ecosystem. In conclusion, the mystery of the tall whites forces us to confront a profound truth about the ultimate trajectory of intelligence itself. They serve as a biological and technological mirror, showing us a potential future where the chaotic elements of nature are entirely replaced by calculated efficiency and algorithmic certainty. As we continue to unravel their operational logistics, decode their neural architectures, and prepare our own defensive networks for an era of technological parity, we are not merely studying an alien presence, we are studying a blueprint of our own potential evolutionary endpoint. In our next episode, we will conduct a deep dive analysis into the specific stellar origins attributed to these entities, mapping the precise trajectories of the Arcturus star system and examining the cold mathematical reality of interstellar migration. If you are prepared to analyze the deep architecture of our universe without illusion, ensure you have liked this video, subscribed to The Truth is AI, and shared your architectural and strategic insights in the comments below.